Okay, thank you very much for invitation. How you know, now I'm the artist much more than my professor in university. And topic was marriage with art and technology, that I find idea to create much more performance than the lectures. So let's start my lecture.
How do we connect experience and through our art and through our innovations in design and in architecture and in science with those beings that are conceived by human thoughts, but nowadays are much beyond our everyday understanding. What does it really mean for us today to be in contact and in relationship with those beings? And how would the Bauhaus movement, thinkers and designers and artists react to those relationships? How would they like to shape it? And what would they insist on for the future, I don't know, for the future coexistence or cohabitants on this planet Earth and in our cities and in our homes between us, human and non-human persons, and the design and the artificial intelligence and the nature. Because nature is one of my focal points and is one of the points that is always in the background. Either we think of the science art, either we think of bio art, or even we think of everyday experience. Being connected to nature is as organic as being connected to online internet devices nowadays. So let me now begin with some simple examples that I chose for you to analyze all of the above.
As an artist, I would like to share my experience with you. What is the context of art and technology? How does this dialogue take place, and in what context can we talk about it today? Of course, the collaboration between artists and scientists has a history. Of course, one could trace the contemporary history of art and list many more or less successful, meaningful collaborations or even symbiotic coexistences. However, this is not my aim. Of course, Robert Rauschenberg immediately springs to mind, but today I would like to start with Nam June Paik and his art installation from 1975. The piece, 3 Eggs, is a CCTV triptych in which an egg is watched by a video camera and transmitted live to a nearby monitor. A second television receiver displays a real egg where the removed television tube should be, to seemingly mirror the transmission. The whole story is about reality, about information flow and formal value. The whole story is about reality, about information flow and formal value. In such a context we begin, for example, to look at television in a completely different way. Not as an easy form of common entertainment, but more like a poetic language for describing important things and not just journalism about them. In such a context, we begin, for example, to look at television in a completely different way, not as an easy form of common entertainment but more as a poetic language for describing important things and not just journalism about them. For me, Nam June Paik's work is in a sense the introduction of poetry into the language of everyday technology. It is a redefinition of everyday objects in the context of more than just art.
And now I would like to show you some short story about Nam June Paik.
We used to call Namjoon my crazy uncle. He was a great uncle to have because he wanted me to watch more TV. And I used to be a really bad piano student who had to take piano lessons. He took our family piano and destroyed it on stage, so no more piano lessons.
Nam June Paik was a pioneer of video and new media art, and he was one of the most innovative artists of the 20th century. He was really quite a visionary, using ideas like electronic superhighway and technologies such as television sets, laser, CCTV systems.
He's really influenced not just the new generations of artists, but really popular culture. When you go to the fashion stores, when you go to these designer stores, a lot of the displays for a long time look like Namjoon pieces with all the big television pieces all over the place. MTV is very much like Namjoon's videos, and he's not just global as an artist, but he foresaw the globalization of everything: art, commerce, travel, everything.
I learned everything I got.
Paik was quite a good collaborator, not just with artists, but with engineers and technicians. Japanese engineer Shuya Abe worked with Paik for many, many years. They were together developing new type of machines, synthesizers, which can manipulate images on TV. Although Paik is largely known as the sort of pioneer of new media art, he used conventional artistic medium as well, such as paintings and drawings. It was really his experimental spirit and aesthetics which set apart him from other artists of the same age.
I was really fortunate in watching Namjoon physically make things. For example, there's a can car, which he made in my bedroom in Tokyo. Wheels on the can car and the motor comes from my toys. My uncle told me, you should experience everything once. And I think he gave my mind great flexibility in thinking of everything backwards and forwards, sideways. And maybe that's why I'm not shocked by many things in life, because I may have learned that from my uncle.
As you have seen, I am dealing here not only with a delight in life itself, but above all with a redefinition of the notion of object. Following the concept of polychromatic multi-temporal objects. The object is assemblages by the French philosopher Michel Serres. Let us take the example of the car. Or better yet, Joseph Kosuth's conceptual work, 1 and 3 Chairs. When we redefine the objects around us in this way, how do we begin to design everyday life? If now, from this point of the 60s, 70s of the previous century, a straight line engaging in describing, understanding the everyday is brought to the present. And we put a point in today's technology, then the first tool of contemporary analysis will be artificial intelligence. There will be a huge amount of data processing in order to create an ideal society of an ideal world. but artists are trying to redefine these assumptions again. He would like to refer to the recent exhibition by the Polish artist Agnieszka Kurant, who presented the exhibition Errorism in the Art Museum in Łódź. The very theme of the exhibition and some of the works presented there are directly generated by artificial intelligence through GPT-3. Generative Pre-trained Transformer 3 is an autoregressive language model, an algorithm that uses machine learning to create human-like text.
This is the object from exhibitions, Agnieszki Kurant.
Agnieszka Kurant shows creations of artificial intelligence as holograms of our imagination, dreams. She presents objects, products of many years' work of industrial concerns. She shows her cooperation with chemists, language researchers, as well as, by means of algorithms evaluating social moods in the network, she presents generative images. It even engages entire termite communities to create its artifacts, all in order to create an overarching narrative in the context of collecting the same data that we could, for example, use to create speculative design. Contemporary models of social organization attempt to provide us with model security, unconditional happiness. In fact, they assure us that everything is directed and tailored to the individual. Agnieszka Kurant exposes these narratives. Using the notions of time and space, she redefines not only the objects themselves but also the processes of their creation. The following issues emerge: collective intelligence, sustainable collective development. After Agnieszka Kurant's exhibition, we begin to ask ourselves, like the artist, about the redistribution of goods. Collective coexistence. About establishing new social models. About building mutual trust. But there is also the subject of time and the very fact of the finiteness of a work of art. Now he would like to jump technology to our everyday life, to simple activities. To segregate waste, to compost. Now he would like to refer to the work he did during his artistic residency at the Center for Contemporary Art Ujazdowski Castle in Warsaw. Amy Pakal is an artist from New York, just like Agnieszka Kurant. For the last few months she has been working in an institution which presents contemporary art. One which actively participates in the social discourse due to the strong involvement of contemporary art in this process. Amy Pakal proposed the creation of a composter in the castle garden. There would be nothing extraordinary in it, but this ordinary activity served the artist to redefine all the activities, processes that take place in the institution itself. Starting with the self-definition of the institution as a subject.
Now I would like to present Amy Pakal.
My name is Amy Pakal. I'm an artist whose practice is informed about the climate crisis. I work often with different communities to help restore our relationship with the environment. And my practice often looks at the inconsistencies within Western dominant ideologies of nature. And then in terms of, I guess, artwork making, at the moment, it's been heavily research-based. Through the process of ongoing sustained questioning and asking, I collect and build personal archives, a collection of conversations and narratives that I've had with people in the local spaces and the communities. And often these discussions are situated in time and care and ongoing sustained engagement. As well, in the archive, often I have photographs and a lot of field notes, a lot of field notes. And with those field notes, I'm able to play and tell stories later on through performative lectures. And the way the work is so truly interdisciplinary is that each aspect of the research informs what the output is. And I like going back to like a tangible object. And so this process of composting knowledge and waiting through that time is also, it slows one down. And understanding that compost isn't done in one moment, but rather it spirals and cycles. And in that way, I also think of my practice. For the occasion of my residency here at the Ujazdowski, I was really interested in how arts institutions deal with the climate crisis. And this is part of a collaboration that I've been doing called the Climate Justice Code in the Netherlands. And there's a group of artists that really ask the question of how do artists and art institutions respond to the climate crisis with the power of imagination. And radical imagination is something that really changes the way I think about art and the way I utilize art. And so with this process, I started working with composting as a way of learning through doing and as a way of really enacting a form of maintenance art. And that's sort of how this process of creating a compost bin for the institution happened. It is not necessarily an artwork in itself, but it's sort of a learning object of deep inner institutional work. And where unlikely collaborators such as the residency departments, the administration departments, and the realization departments came together to help support and build this bin for use in the institution. And so we built 2 bins and also in collaboration with neighbors. And so we asked the Botanic Garden next door to come and help and support this process. And so it really created this sort of intervention within the institution and beyond, think just a little bit differently about our relationship to the living world. And through the whole process of building, I understood that you can actually create forms that support co-creation. So I like these long sustained projects, which multiple things show up, and then you can really understand thematically how they work and how they function.
Now I would like to delve into Bruno Latour's theory of the network actor and discuss the connections and dependencies in the works of Agnieszka Karantor. Referring to the new materialism of Rossi Braidotti or Donna Haraway, analyze the meaning of compost. However, I would turn for a moment towards light art and present you with a statement by James Turrell in order to make us aware of how important, in the context of art, is the value of the very reception and participation of the viewer in the work.
One question I always ask is, why go inside to see out? You can see the sky anytime you want, but that's not telling the story of how we see the sky and how our perception, our seeing, forms the sky. Prejudiced perception allows us not to see things that really are as they are. We award the sky its color. We're quite unaware of this. Because we do, that means that I can then change it. I can work something around you that then will change your perception. And I think that artists working with the nature of perception, or how we go about doing this, is also of great importance, because we do have this prejudice seeing that many of the artists are trying to take away that prejudice. If you use light to tell a story, then you're not using the power of light, you're using the power of the story, which has its own power. But I want to use it without that, so I can't have it with an image exactly. No image, and then there's no object even. And there's no particular place of focus, no spot of focus or particular place to look. So if you have no image, no object, no focus, well, what do you have left? Well, for me, it then takes you right to this primal relationship to light. We drink light. The importance of doing this at Roden Crater in terms of making events that mark our time here is largely because these events form us. That is, moods change with cycles of the moon. They certainly change with the seasons. They change with the weather, which has a lot to do with sunspots and all that we see around us. I am marking these things that have to do with our sensing the sky, our living in the sky. My thought there is that it's important that you go alone, almost as though you're coming to a ruin. You discover these things yourself. You go through it, and these things are your discovery. So that's what I'd like to impart, if I can, and it's beginning to unfold. I'm learning how to do this. I'm getting some command of this medium of perception worked with the material called light.
And in the context of subjective perception, we deal with our sensitivity. It turns out that technology recedes into the background when we are dealing with an intimate narrative of artist, work, and audience. It is true that we, as artists, eagerly reach for it, but we are equally eager to give it up in favor of analog tools. By interpreting everyday phenomena, we take the viewer to completely different regions of his imagination. On the one hand, we can cite the latest large-format immersive projects by Team Lab. Team Lab from 2001 is an international art collective, an interdisciplinary group of various specialists such as artists, programmers, engineers, generative animators, mathematicians, and architects whose collaborative practice seeks to navigate the confluence of art, science, technology, and the natural world. But I would like to present to you something quite the opposite and introduce you to an artist from Japan who uses a small moving point of light to move the whole space around you. Let us imagine a dark space and in it the work of Yasuhiro Chida. And now I would like to show you how I myself work within the framework of the themes raised in my artistic practice. At the beginning of this year, I worked with students on the subject of water. From our discussions, The deep research that the students carried out under my supervision and that of my artist friend Wojtek Radke, the project co-responsibility was born. A performative artistic action that resulted in a fusion of human non-Lydian entities in order to communicate an idea, our manifesto of the students. After careful analysis, the students reduced the creative act to an act of adolescence. Their collective work became an almost symbiotic interaction with nature. In an almost ritualistic process of braiding tissue from plants growing near the river, they created an artifact, our manifesto of themselves. This object was deposited with the water. The river in the form of some kind of its food. By investigating all the circumstances, the students gained knowledge about biodegradability, coexistence, conscious action, and ultimately from undertaking a thorough analysis of all the available data. They answered the question of what they wanted to design and found a rationale for the process as well as the product itself. Guided by the term zero waste, they reduced their initial assumptions. They redefined concepts and named them based on their collective intelligence. They worked collectively. Finally, we should ask the question about the context of your work today. To ask what kind of group you are. Unfortunately, due to the short time between the invitation to today's lecture and the performance itself, I did not have the opportunity to get to know who I will meet today. I would like to ask you a question about your sensibility. How your digital everyday life intertwines with your sensitivity. How do you perceive simple, ordinary everyday phenomena? What is important to you as a group? How you are able to think as a group through these values. The answers are a certain set of data which, like artificial intelligence, could be analyzed and used to generate the next topic of your reflections during the workshop.
And of course, I have three similar questions, topic.
Redefining imagination, the balance between technology and one's own inner experience. Imagination, the definition of the viewer.
So I think that it's everything from my side. Now is all in your side.
Thank you very much, Robert, for this great lecture and leaving us with these questions. I don't know if directly there is someone who would like to take this topic.
If there is a question, you can either post it in a chat or just directly raise hand and you'll be given the word.
It can be both.
There is already Lotte raising hand.
There's Lotte, please.
Lotte, you're still muted.
Thank you for this incredibly interesting presentation. I wish all my engineering students had seen it. It would have been very nice for them. But luckily it's recorded. So, but I think concerning your question, I think as an engineer, you work a lot more with visualization, with colors than numbers now, compared to just 10 years ago. That's one answer. In my personal life, it's like my children are grown up and they live in other parts of the world. And we just communicate with photos many times during the day on Instagram and Messenger. Very strange. Yeah, that's just to answer your question.
Thank you very much.
Maybe you can post those questions, copy them in the chat one more time so that everybody have them again present. And I also enjoyed your lecture very much because it was, of course, very different than what we are used to. And before commenting on the question, I have a technical question related to when you wrote your text in Polish, did you have to change something in it, or it is the direct translation that Google offered you?
No, it's not like that. It's like that was the first English text, then was translated to Polish text. That's why, because I use Google Translate just only for reading, because, for example, because I choose many options, but I choose this one because it's much more helps me to understand what machines read. That's it.
No, I must admit, when I looked, I was curious to look on to the Polish text, and it sounds, even though it was only translation, Google Translation, it was nearly perfect. I would say. Machines are cleverer and cleverer.
Yeah, exactly. Because how was during about story about Agnieszka Kurant. It was funny reading. It's a completely different name than machine reading, and then was he exactly use artificial intelligence, which one is for exactly translating to generate the idea, for example, for this last exhibition in Łódź, where even the name of the exhibition was created by artificial intelligence, errorism, and that's it. And then I start thinking it will be good to work with this exactly because we heard that we have a lot of opportunity to work, but you know how we can use in our daily story and everything what we do, how we can work with this artificial intelligence that show us exactly for this my lecture. That was my idea to use this.
But I say something to this. It's interesting for me that you know, it's the same if you translate Danish to English with Google Translate. It's also nearly perfect. But then I tried the Danish, German, and there's a lot of errors. So it's really artificial intelligence. It learns a lot from where there's a lot of need for it. And if you have a smaller road with less users, or Danish, I don't know, Korean or something, it gets, it's still like infantile language. But I guess Polish English is something that people use every day, also a lot of people, thousands of people. So it gets really smart and good at it.
Yeah, the machine can be smart.
I think like the majority of languages actually with English, they work perfectly fine. And it's amazing how much you can translate nowadays already directly and just a little bit need of adjusting, and then the text is absolutely fine.
Yes, exactly. I can add from my side that coding small languages like Latvian, for example, a couple of years ago, it was quite impossible to translate into English or from English to Latvian, but it changes in a very powerful way. So today we can translate using this artificial intellect quite okay, and there are no very many mistakes that is are to be corrected. So it is improving really. Maybe it is our future digital world.
In this context, actually, I wanted to ask you, how do you see if this technology is not in some way diminishing the role of the artist? Isn't it taking the role of the artist? I consider these trials of the artificial intelligence algorithm to write poems.
Yeah. This is the questions. How is the line? Who is the broad between our creation and creation by artificial intelligence? Of course, maybe the answer is, for example, we have the machine who are win with the best of player of Go play, yeah. But answer is the machine knows that machines play in Go, yeah. This is the same. If you are poet, you play with this work with the poet. You create something because this is the emotions, not just only the collective of perfect word in the rhythm, yeah. Because important is to create something more, because we start talking with emotions, yeah, and everything going from this, not from algorithm. That's why this maybe for us, for artists, this is the difference, yeah. Maybe for, I don't know, for engineers, doesn't matter who create this perfect straight line, yeah.
I will tell you that as architects, but also as engineers, we have similar, we ask similar questions. How much can technology, how much can these new tools take our place? How good are they, and where this human creativity is needed? how far can it be diminished and where it stays. So we also deal with this question throughout the whole this project here. So
okay.
That's why it is important for us. Do we have any? I saw Bartek is unmuted.
Yes, this is, I'm not sure if it's question or it's kind of reflection taken upon your lecture, but your lecture was spanned between two completely contrasting realities. So on one hand, we had this artificial reality and the even artificial language. On the other hand, we had completely natural approach to the what's material, and I was still concerning where is the meeting point, and actually when I'm thinking about this, the meeting point is us. So we are standing in the middle, people, and now we are talking about this artificial language. And my feeling is that we feel even more comfortable in this artificial reality which we have created. We feel much more comfortable in it than we feel in nature. So this is the question whether we are not more distanced from nature, more familiar with artificial reality which we have created, and we feel in this artificial reality like we are, I don't know, wearing comfortable clothes. And my question is whether we should put more effort to feel in the nature back again, as we could feel the nature as a comfortable cloth. So this is my question. You posed to question about what's natural, what's artificial. In my opinion, this is my reflection, and the question is how could we get back to the nature or we could link nature and artificial reality in that way, or being in that position. So I don't know whether this is a question, just maybe a reflection.
Yeah, exactly. That's the same question was in my head when I prepared this lecture, because when I, for example, one hand had the exhibition and topics of artistic research of Agnieszka Kurant was exactly how we can use artificial intelligence to speak about our normal for a life with the nature. And another hand was exactly Amy Pockel, which one used just on the simple things like the compost, yeah, which one is really close to. But in philosophy, the meeting point was exactly they are together, yeah, to speak about what is very important. Maybe the question is in Bruno Latour, which said, okay, human, we have to make the break, make the steps, maybe not to back, maybe to further, but we have to looking around us, but much more careful than we look before.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. Quite a lot of people. If someone would like to take voice, please unmute yourself or put the hand up. If I could, I have Carl Gunnar. Yes, please.
Yes, thank you, and thank you for a very interesting and nice lecture, Robert. I'm thinking of you're asking us about our sensitivity, but I'm thinking on when I'm thinking on my everyday life and the digital revolution. I'm thinking of creativity, and a very small thing there is the joy in programming, in trying logic relation and get an immediate kind of answer of how things will turn out when you program, write a logic code. What is that in your kind of whole and relation between art and technology.
For example, for me, the new question is the light pollution. So of course, when I'm the light artist, I use a lot of technology to create huge projections, and I collect the next numbers of lumens of my projectors. And then when I looking through the window and I saw huge light clouds so near Wrocław, and I asked myself how I can be the part of this light pollution with my art, with large scale of projections, with a lot of lumens. Maybe I have to rethinking my approach, my new tools to create something with nature light. I don't know yet, but because the question is really from last time refresh in my side, and this will be my next probably project to redefine what is the really light art. Maybe I have the opportunity to turn a little bit nearer to Turrell when he said about sky and our feeling and exactly to turn to the nature, and I saw some interesting point with the new tools, which probably will be fine. That the light art in this kind of tools can be visible not just only during the darkness, like now is the projections need to be the darkness from, but we can redefine the tools and the lights to turn to daily art. This is just only my questions, my new searching for the new technology and new reality with the lights.
But in terms of sensibility, and maybe you can't talk about the joy in the experimenting situation as a sensibility, but it is a kind of relation between what your senses can experience, and actually the joy the curiosity in programming it, in trying different logics, digital logics to just get what you experience, what you can challenge your senses in some sense. That's what I'm thinking of when I when I look upon your questions.
Mm-hmm.
Yes, we have Eva also.
Thank you for the lecture, first of all. And to me, like the question I would like to ask is, during the process of digitalization of art, we can, for example, create algorithms that could give us thousands of multidimensional compositions. But from my point of view, the role of the artist, the human part, is deciding which one of this composition is actually resonating with the concept of beauty, which one looks the best, because this is something very subjective. And my question is, do you think that is it even possible to digitalize the concept of beauty, to make beauty automatic?
Yeah, this is the question. This is the question, the same. What is the poem? Yeah. And I don't know. I don't know, because we where is the frame of the beauty, and who want to create this frame? Yeah? I think when we thinking how human in post Anthropocene's philosophy, we put all beings in the same line, even artificial intelligence, even our space, even different things like books, many collecting things which one surrounding us. I think the answer is everywhere there. We have to listen everything, and maybe there is the answer. I don't know.
Thank you very much, Emilia.
Yeah, actually, I wanted to comment to refer to what Carl Gunnar said before, but I really need to say that it was a very good question, Eva, and we can also take it later for the group work, I think, because beauty is definitely something subjective, and here within the training program, it's exactly what we're looking at, like this concept of the European Bauhaus introduces the concept of beauty, design, and aesthetics, and that's the big question exactly. How do we deal with this in this new situation? But I wanted to refer to Carl Gunnar's comment when he was talking about this joy of programming and creating the algorithm and seeing what is possible and what is changing. And then I was thinking, but actually, this is one part of this joy of enjoyment, but the other part is actually when you share it with the audience and see what the reaction is on the other side and how this group actually reacts. It's even interesting to us also to see how artificial intelligence would react to it, but it's still this where we always need this interrelation, like doing something for the joy of it, but then sharing it with the rest. And then again comes the question, okay, if you're sharing with machines and technology, and if you're sharing with human beings, and what the difference is there as well. And there's one more, I don't have an exact question, it's just everything that you provoke now. There is, I think this is also a very good question that you gave us also for the group work, like the question of sensibility and who are we as a group? This is a question that we really need to maybe to set in our group today, because we have had all these training programs for the last year only digitally. We have never met in person. It's a very interesting experience. I mean, all of us have switched to the digital tools during the last year and a half in the pandemic situation. But it's still the question, what has happened in a different way, what we have gained, what kind of sensibility was awakened there. And thank you very much for your input. As I said, I don't have all these questions, they don't have a direct answer. We are on the way to actually find the answers ourselves.
We have also a question from Selenaya on the chat. I don't know if you have a microphone, if you would like to join us, or should I read it directly?
Hi.
Oh,
yes,
right.
yes, of course I can join. Yeah, thank you very much for the presentation. So I would like to ask us, the first video that you showed me reminds me the monosukuri concept from the Japanese concept of making things. So I really wonder, because it includes the spirit of this making things, and it includes this trial and error processes. But since the art is more expression rather than exploration, so I wonder how you see today in today's modern art the place of the spirit of making. So do you think it is a necessity, or it is necessity for only exploration? So just I wonder your opinion about it.
I think the spirit of making is exactly with us and in our relationship with our surrounding. Yeah, and our careful to celebrate these relationships, we have the chance to find, inspirations, talks, exactly relationships. I think this is the answer, because when we spoke about our relationship with our surrounding, we have the chance to make another questions, and like as students, that which one start thinking about the water, then make the research what is exactly water, make the huge tissue of mushrooms of water everywhere in the world, and they find connection between and they find ideas that exactly turn from the water to relationship, to manifest of what is important in their life, but finally then turn back exactly to the water, to give the water the food as the manifest as a food. I think the spirit of creativity, you have the chance to find, it's still the questions, and the same when you design something, you have to be careful in listening who will be owner of this design, the things, the space of, doesn't matter what we design. The same is with, if you are artist and you're looking with your message, how this message can go straight to the audience, to one person, which one you have the chance to make conversation with him. This is maybe, this is my answer. This is my way how I try to work on my art.
Yeah, thank you. Thanks.
Thank you. Yes, Bartek?
I'm still thinking about the question of Eva Michalowska, because it's a question which we practically could say that the answer is already given, that all these algorithms are profiling our tastes of beauty, our sense of beauty is profiling our choices, whatever we are doing. The algorithm are closing us in the bubbles with our point of views, with our world views, with our feeling of what the beauty means. And I think the algorithms are still making decisions instead of us, what the beauty is. And in my opinion, the next question could be whether we could jump out of it, whether we could start to program machines or to think ourselves in more independent way, independent of the digital machines which are working behind our backs. And maybe the answer is, coming back to your lecture, maybe the answer is nature, which is kind of basis of interpreting of our world and what beauty means when we are observing and we are careful observers of the nature. Maybe this is something which is which gives us possibility to come back to some common base for everyone. So I'm your lecture and the questions, they are so provoking to posting next questions. But once again, this is my question now. What the beauty means? You've asked who is the one who would like to make the frames for the beauty, but maybe the nature is the most fantastic frame of what beauty means.
Yeah, the same. I have the questions in when we spoke what we expect from, for example, from artificial intelligence. Maybe the answer, the same answer in the question is that we are to become equal, to stay in the same line, with the nature, with the animals, humans, things, and and free artificial intelligence. Maybe this is the answer.
Well, I must admit that with the artificial intelligence on the base where we have now, it may develop, but for now, in my opinion, still it is programmed by the people. It is programmed, even how it learns, what it do. It is programmed by us, the human beings. So I would say that I don't have this feelings that it can be treated equally with the plant or with the other objects, but probably it may change with the time. It might be provocative statement and undermining its possibilities, but for me, working a little bit with neural networks, I know that they will do only the things which I ask them to do. They won't do anything else. They may learn, but they learn what I ask them to learn.
Maybe we are thinking like this.
Yes.
We are thinking as a human. I don't know how thinking exactly artificial intelligence, this is.
Maybe you are right.
I don't know.
I just wanted to add the very same comment. I don't think this is just the perspective that we have, but actually we don't know how artificial intelligence really makes the connections and what kind of conclusions it at the end actually derives. So I'm not very sure about how much, to what extent we really can steer fully the process. Something.
I saw Lotta's hand.
Yes, I was thinking about your initial comment that in the background of your work of art, there's always nature. And this relationship with nature is very fundamental also when you talk about technology. And how we look at nature. If we look at a piece of rock as a resource ready for be mining, or a rock is something more that we don't really understand. And it will be very interesting how artificial intelligence, which notion of nature artificial intelligence will have. Because it might be that we are limited in our notion of nature, and an artificial intelligence having access to a lot more information will see something that we, because of our cultural inheritance in the way we look at nature, have overlooked. So I thought that was a very, the notion of nature just becomes more and more present also in how I think about technology. Yeah, so that was really just a comment.
Mm-hmm.
Yes, but this is also, I think, one of the topics which will be present in today's discussions throughout the day. This role of nature. I wanted also to refer to one more subject. We are speaking more and more about the, I don't know if I can say, utilitarian role of art, how it's like convey the ideas in the society. And I'm thinking if this technology, which is part, is, Robert, in your opinion, is it is it like pushing maybe not a good work, but is it directing the art in this direction, or is it going in the opposite direction?
I think we crossed the line when the first art stopped be just on decorative. Yeah, when we start to be part in a discussion where we are going as a human, as associated, and how the nation, and then we stop be just only critic, and just now we start to make reflection about that and to be part of the discussion, how we are going as a nation on the world, how we can thinking of new human, about new relations between us. I think there is it doesn't matter that we are use a lot of technology or just only simple things, but it's important that we are have to be, not just want. We have to be in these discussions, yeah, because this is the now the art, to be part of this topic where we are going as a human, and that's it.
Thank you very much for this comment, because it will be linking us with tomorrow's discussion about new society and the new mankind in its environment. So this is, we have already the connections here. Do we have someone else? Well, maybe people still need a bit more time, but to continue this this utilitarian part. In this project, we work a lot with the built environment, with the public realm. Also, how do you think that this connection between the technology and public realm, because public realm is starting to be more and more filled with technology, this ubiquitous sensors, etc., etc. Do you see the connections of this this changes, this trend with the art, which is in public space, which could happen in public space?
Oh, the art in public space. This is a huge question, exactly, because we just, the one hand, we turn to be just on much more entertainment, and nothing else, just only, okay, this is the beauty, and that's it. Because we have the marriage with the our, I don't know, the enjoying the public space, but the same is discussion in the public space, because now the public space is not just only surrounding outside our house. Even now we are in the public space, you know, this is the social media, internet, network, everything. This is the new public space. And yeah, and when I work with the student public space department, we anytime they ask, we try to make the new definition. What is the public space for us? Yeah, and then this is the beginning. Yeah, who is the owner of this place? How we can contribute in this space? How we can make influence, or just only to find our audience in there, and who will be the audience? And that's still a lot of questions, yeah, to construct the public space and make the name of this. And that's and that, yeah, this is the way of the art, yeah, to make more questions than the answers.
Thank you very much. I heard that Emilia has one more question.
Actually, I wanted to give the word to someone else if there are other questions, because this question is very practical and a little bit out of what you just said. That's why it does not fit so well. But back to your project with the water, with co-responsibility. What we saw on the video, I had the feeling that the core of this project was much more this exchange and physical presence, where they actually worked together, where there was synergy, and they actually exchanged ideas on many more levels than just on the mental level, I would say. And I was asking myself again, now that some time passed between what I saw and we had the discussion, I just can't remember what was the digital component there and how the digital technologies actually influenced really this project. What was different?
Yeah, the first day there was just, okay, we are light artists and we have the water in the town, in the Wrocław. Let's make something in the water. Yeah, this was the beginning, how we can do it and how we can collaborate with the water. And then the students start make a lot of questions, make a lot of levers, roads and the routes where they goes, and they redefined what is the water exactly for they, yeah. And maybe and then I think they start thinking not just person to person, but much more like work together as a collective group, and then they start work as a exactly artificial intelligence, to collect a lot of things different and do different approach to create one meaning, and they made it a lot of questions, find a lot of answers, and then reduce. When I look at on the way to work to create the result of this project, they exactly, that was like a little bit like machine, but much more like artificial intelligence, humans, beings to work together, yeah. And finally, they reduce everything, but the questions of where is the new technology on it, is this the answer? Because they try looking for really 100% safe things to the water, yeah, because we know that it's something is safe for the water. We can put to there, but finally they found a lot of answers that is not like that, like we know, yeah. They have to stray work with the surrounding, not to be like the owner, like we humans thinking about the nature, but much more like somebody who are as a guest in this part, and to be just only invisible the guest in this part. That they find idea this thing. That's why they collect the plants from the place where they exactly back with the plants to this place, yeah. It's just that's only, the process of work and process of to find idea and to create the last result of this project. What is exactly the water, yeah?
Thank you very much, Emilia and Robert, for this thread. Actually, it brings me to what came to my mind is that with this open and creative process, which are now more and more, also for us architects, even engineers, we also do it this way more and more often. Very often, technology is not the only answer. And it is very important to be open, to ask openly the question and find the best answer, and not to stick that we want to use this kind of technology to solve the problem.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, exactly. That is the same. What is with the question? What is the beauty? Where is the frame of this beauty? Yeah, I don't know. We are really ready to find this answer, for the answer. What is the beauty? Because everything what we think that is the beauty, we map to our imagination. Yeah, that the robot have to look like the human. Yeah, and everything is we map to our idea that we are human, yeah, and then we are men, yeah, and everything on everything we looking through our mind and our body. Yeah, that's my work from Ekaterinburg. This is my answer. What is the future in our world? We have to just only live. That with this piece of art, I would like to say goodbye and thank you for the invitation and leave these discussions. Thank you very much.